Well, hey guys, it's Dr. Drake 63 here again today. Thanks for joining me, and I'm continuing along my 22 long rifle fetish. That's something I've really been getting into lately. And this particular one is the Remington 550-1. This one is from 1954. As you can see, it's in very good condition. It's got a few love marks on it, and I'm sure I'll put a few of my own on there. And this one comes with a Weaver El Paso B4 scope, which is 4 times magnification. A little bit smaller than I like in terms of the eyepiece, but it does the job. It's a nice full size, what I call a man size 22. I'm not a big fan of the smaller size 22s. I like stuff that feels like a full-on hunting rifle. So, you know, it doesn't weigh as much as my hunting rifle, but it's the same kind of setup, same kind of feel, same kind of eye relief. Going to talk today about this one. Of course, we're going to show you some shooting results. I did put about 100 rounds through this today, and it functioned flawlessly. Didn't even act like it wanted to have a hiccup of any kind. In addition to that, the accuracy I was pretty satisfied with, especially just using standard CCI ammo at 50 yards. And we'll, like I said, show you those results and talk about this a little bit in comparison to the 552. This particular model is the 550-1. There was a 550A that came out before this, but then they introduced the 551. So this is another one of those Remington rifles. Like I said, we'll compare it to the 552. The Speedmaster is a more popular rifle, the 552. Encourage you to check out that video as well. Similar kind of accuracy to the 552. One of the things I will tell you is that this has a pretty stout trigger, so it's not a target trigger. So getting tight groups, dime-sized groups out at 50 yards, things like that, really takes a lot of your concentration in terms of muscle control and stuff, because this doesn't have a target trigger on it. What it does have is a metal trigger guard, which pretty standard on the old stuff, and you'd be lucky to find one on a new firearm outside of a CZ or some of the more expensive stuff. But everything about this is fun. We're going to take a quick look at the inside and how this thing works. Stay tuned. So we're going to take a look at the inner workings of the 550-1, and you know, as you can see, it's got a charging knob right here. Here you can see a safety. Very simple. Forward is fire, back is safe. And it's interesting because this is quite a bit of a different rifle than we saw with the 552. But everything happens through one takedown screw, and I'm going to start by taking out the tube. You can see what that looks like. And like a lot of them, this is a captive screw, so it's not going to come all the way out. You lift your stock out, and there you go. There's your action. So in terms of what to do next, you have a portion on the back that is a knob. And it's a lot easier. I tightened this down when I had the scope off earlier. But usually you can just do this simply by turning on the side. You heard it click. So it's got a positive fastening scenario, and you pull it out, and this is your main spring. It's in 2 parts. And then it's a matter with the bolt You slide this back, and there's an opening right here. Simply allows you to pull this knob out. And then as far as getting the bolt out, you can just take your finger and push it out just like that. Now, I had this thing fairly clean prior to putting about 100 rounds through it today. One of the big differences, if you look here, this has a single extractor, and the 550A, which was the predecessor, had a double extractor. And you can see that even looking at it, it appears that they took the same bolt and just left the other extractor out. I don't see a lot of double extractors in semi-autos. I think it's a lot easier for them to eject with a single extractor. Obviously, you see the double extractors quite a bit in bolt actions. Firing pin came right out, and it's in very good shape. So it does not have a look that it's been peened or beat up over time. Another one of those rifles that you want to count your rounds. You want to avoid dry fire in this because once you beat down the end of this thing, things aren't going to work. So if you look at those two grooves here on the underside of the bolt, the top I just wiped down. You can see what that looked like when I cleaned it, and on the bottom, that's what 100 rounds looks like. 22 is some dirty stuff. People want to go long periods of time without cleaning out 22s, and in the blowback semi-automatic world, that's usually where your malfunctions arise. I mentioned that this bolt right here from the 552 Speedmaster firing pin, as you can see, bears no resemblance to what we're looking at with the 550-1. Completely different design altogether. And a little bit better looking at the parts. I mentioned the end of the firing pin was not peened or damaged in any way, which is a good thing. Taking a look inside the action, this piece right in here is actually what's called a floating chamber. So that adjusts, and that's what allows this particular firearm to shoot 22 shorts, long, and long rifle. So it compensates by moving back and forth. Now, in order to get that out, you would first need to loosen this screw, and inside of there, if you can see, there's another screw. And this outer screw is what holds your magazine in place, your tube magazine. The screw inside of that is what holds the barrel in place. I tried like you wouldn't believe to get this screw off because I did want to take the floating chamber off, and I gave it everything I had, and it would not come out. So at some point, if I want to do a really deep cleaning of this rifle, I'm going to need to get some stuff to put on the threads to work on that. But you can see this is your mechanism by which you load from the magazine tube. And that's about it. But that's a different animal from what we saw with the 552. Can also see here that this has a grooved receiver. And as with Remington, they stamp the letters of the barrel on there. And this one is dated to January 1954, which was the only month they ever used AA. Can you imagine what it would cost, though, to make a semi-auto rifle like that these days, you know, with these number of working parts and heavier springs? I mean, you know, look at the spring that's inside a modern 22 semi, like a 1022 or a Marlin 60. It's not even a comparison. Got it back together. And there you go. That ridge you see down on the very bottom is your ejector. So, very simple operating. From that standpoint, I like that strength and size of that extractor. We fired this today, like I said, 100 rounds, and didn't have anything that even hinted like it was going to be an ejection problem or a cycling problem, so everything worked perfectly there. So here's some of the tube-fed semi-automatic loading rifles that I've featured on the channel recently. Of course, today we're looking at this Remington 550-1. Here is the Remington 552, and this is called the Speedmaster, and this has a bit of a better reputation in terms of reliability and popularity than the 550-1. Can I say it's a better firearm? I don't know. I've heard that it does rapid fire better. Big difference here is you've got your charging handle on the left side of the rifle, but it's a very similar feel in terms of weight, overall length, so forth. We also took a look at this Winchester 74, and it's got your charging handle towards the rear, so you can actually use your thumb to load your first round, and this loads, it's a tube magazine, but it loads right here. So instead of loading from an external tube that's under the barrel, you take this out and then load down through the stock. It's a very good system. All three of those are what I consider to be a full-size firearm. This is the Marlin 60, okay? And one of the things that this features is a bolt hold open mechanism. So when you've shot your last round, the bolt stays open. The advantage is you're not taking another shot or tempted to take another shot, end up peening the face of your chamber with the firing pin. Now, in terms of construction, this Marlin 60, which is a fine firearm, but there's no way that you could build one of these three for what a Marlin 60 would sell for, or a Ruger 1022. There's just so much more hand fitting in terms of these rifles, and so you end up with, might have been cheap to produce in 1954 or 1961 or some of these other years that are represented, but in today's world, you just aren't going to see one like this. After 67 years, this shoots very reliably. Who knows what this is going to do after 67 years? I mean, the spring inside this thing, your main spring, is just a tiny little affair. Can it possibly last as long as some of these larger springs that are in these three firearms? I don't know. But they all take slightly different approaches to chambering rounds and ejecting rounds. I find it very interesting. And I'd take any one of these firearms that are on the table out on a hunting trip and wouldn't think twice about it. Beautiful firearms in very good shape. There's a ding or a dent here from use, but they're very nice representations. And you look at something that's almost brand new in this Marlin. And, some guys really like laminate stocks, but how does the blue job and the stock compare on something like this Winchester? Different story. But these two right here were kind of subsequent in the line. The 500 series by Remington. Just really cool all the way around. They did such a good job with these rifles. They're all known for their accuracy. And I would resist the temptation to change the finish, to refinish any of these. This one, I don't know, I might spray paint it. So we're taking a look at some different 5-shot groups. These were taken indoors at 50 yards. That's okay. I mean, if you look at my 513T video, I shot tighter groups with peep sights from 50, but this is not a 513T. And I was overall very happy with the results today. So you've seen quite a bit about Remington on my channel over the span of the videos that I put up, and a lot recently in terms of news, what's going on with that company and what looks like the demise. A lot of folks have said, noticed, myself included, that their quality over the last few years just wasn't what it used to be. That doesn't take away from the fact that Remington, for years and years and years, made excellent quality firearms. This is one of them. I've got a soft spot for what Remington used to be able to do, and am going to continue to pick up these old girls like this and get the most out of them. They're accurate, they're dependable. The fit and finish are typically beautiful as long as they haven't been abused. And heck, I'd even take a good shooter if it has been abused. Hope you've enjoyed watching today, the Remington 550-1. This is Dr. Drake 63 saying thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.